Hello everyone. I welcome you to another episode of Beyond Grief and Loss. Let's get started. In this episode today, along with me, you will learn how grief impacts each one of us, the way we experience it in our personal life, and how it plays a key and dominant role in shaping our perspective and transforming our beliefs. So if there has ever been a change in your mindset and few of your beliefs which completely got shifted, remember you may have been through grief and loss. Towards the end of the session, you will also learn how grief coaching can help overcome grief and loss in the most effective way. In our session today, I would like to share with you story of Kiran and her cousin Reena. Was also a case of grief and loss in which there are two people involved, a lot of context. However, our client and the story revolves around Kiran. Kiran finds herself extremely sad, in deep pain. She finds that most of her work, her personal life, at workspace, with friends, with her kids, she was not engaged. She was not her usual self, and as if sadness had enveloped her. This sadness and deep pain and lacking focus at work, crying for no reason, made Kiran think what exactly was wrong with her. She was feeling sad and extremely sad and in pain, but she couldn't really understood the reason behind it. Just like most of us, she also self-diagnosed. She went to internet, some other social media forums, trying to figure out what exactly was wrong with her. And basis on her self-diagnosis, she found that maybe she has depression or there's something else that has come up, and therefore she need a coach to help her. When she came to me, and during our initial discovery sessions, I made use of certain tools and techniques to understand the root cause of her sadness. But even while we arrived there, it took us more than 4 sessions to really figure out what exactly was wrong with Kiran. The conversations went back into her childhood, to her current significant relationships, including how she perceived her work, her job, her colleagues, and life as whole. While these discussions were on, Kiran shared with me many instances and experiences, and I also gave her some assignments which made her self-reflect specific to incidents in her life that could have been the trigger for the endless sadness that she feels today. All in all, it was not really depression or any sort of an anxiety or a mental disorder that she thought she was going through. The real root cause, when we came to pin that out from the roots of her past experiences, left both of us surprised. More than me, it was obviously Kiran, who was more surprised when she ventured inward. We did a self-analysis, self-reflection exercise, and she figured out certain things about her own self, which so far she never thought that she perhaps would have been impacted because of that. She always felt she's very happy, just a normal person, doing her job, getting on with life, with colleagues, taking the right vacations at time, very doting mother, happy with her family. But friends, that's what coaching does to you. There are many things that you may feel are because of this particular reason, but in reality, things are always different. We are not one person or one employee or one role. the definition of ourself is a culmination of many things together. And therefore, sometimes when we find ourselves enveloped with complicated grief or complicated emotions, the best option here is to always seek help outside. Now, as we discovered many reasons, one of which that surprises us, the real root cause, was Reena. Now, you must be wondering, who's Reena here? Now, this is exactly how the whole coaching assignment took a shift. Reena and Kiran were childhood, not just friends, but Reena was her first cousin. They both were of the same age, went to the same school, and almost had a same set of friend circle. They spent their summer holidays together and treated each other just like any sibling would. But they were more than friends. They cared deeply about each other. And just in the past, when we were trying to discover the many reasons for Kiran's endless sadness, in one of her self-discovery tools and exercises that I gave her, it pointed towards an experience which happened almost 2 years ago, where Kiran was with Reena when Reena, after 7 years into her marriage with 3 kids, lived a happy life. But things took a worse turn when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disorder in which it can be both at a chronic level or at a basic level. Hers was a chronic case, and a person who was joyous, lively, filled with life, and hoping for a future for herself and her kids, Reena was confined to a bed. She was not diagnosed initially the right way, so it took some time for the right medicine and treatment to get started. Eventually, that led to Reena confined to a bed because she could barely move. Her entire lower spine region was impacted by it. She was confined to bed, which changed the trajectory of her entire life. This disorder so far has no cure. Yes, there are methods where in yoga, in other exercises, the physical one could help, but Reena was a different case. In a period of 1 year, she had 3 relapses, which made her condition worse. Not just that she was confined to bed, she developed other diseases like diabetes, thyroid issues, and many other. She became obese, and more than anything else, her mental health took a heavy toll. This change in a life of someone who was very close to Kiran, who she considered her support, especially as a moral support and emotional one when she went through life's difficult phase, when she found her entire support collapsing right behind her in the name of multiple sclerosis, she was shattered. But since this happened 2 years ago, Kiran thought this was something not related to her. It was related to Reena. And why would she feel that pain? And why would, because her life was just as usual, except that her best friend Reena was suffering. Her married life took a hit, Reena's married life. And there were many times Kiran had to intervene and help. While she did all of this, helping Reena stay hopeful, providing her the moral support, ensuring that she's there for her, there were times where Kiran herself felt equally vulnerable and weak. This happens specifically when we are caregivers to people who are suffering from chronic illnesses or a fatal disease which has no cure. But most often than not, people do not realize this, that also is impacting them. Because the way we look at life is just one dimension. It didn't happen with me, so why would I am feeling all of a sudden so sad or in pain, or I would get depressed. And that's exactly what we figured out through grief coaching, that it's not just about an individual personally experiencing a chronic illness. Even as a caregiver, you stand equally vulnerable, equally weak, and equally susceptible to anything that could happen to a significant other or someone very close to you suffering from a chronic illness. And it can impact you deeply. And that's exactly what happened in Kiran's case. Based on our findings, when Kiran realized the real cause of her issues, both me and Kiran, I then changed the trajectory and the whole assignment into helping Kiran now, instead of the sudden sadness and the loss she felt, to help her move towards radical acceptance. Because there was nothing much that either me or Kiran could do about Reena and her chronic illness. But yes, what we could do is help her react in a more effective way, which would just keep her not strong even today, but even in the times to come. So with the help of certain tools that we have within coaching, I helped and assisted Kiran accept what she cannot change. First, understand what lies beneath the surface that's making her vulnerable. Then at the same time, create a forward action plan that she could repeat again and again, because as long as Reena is alive, autoimmune disorders would not go back to complete cure. We can stop the relapse, but we really cannot reverse the time or the illness. So Kiran has to find herself in a position where not only that she takes care of herself, but also for her family, and at the same time of Reena, her best friend. So she has to be that support, and which means she needs to be strong enough, wise enough, and should have the tools handy with her so that she could not only use that for herself, but even sometimes even for Reena to accept things that one cannot change. Now, this radical acceptance is not that one time we sit, we write, and we accept. No, it doesn't happen that way. It requires support and help. There are a series of self-reflection assignments that one needs to do, certain Socratic questioning method one needs to follow before we really come to that radical acceptance point. And then it also requires that we repeat it whenever the time arises, because one's acceptance is not that you would just close it, accept, and move on. We are not apps or machines. As human beings, our context, our circumstance, our life keeps on changing and shifting. And there could be times where all that we have learned may suddenly feel that nothing works. So the entire assignment of this particular grief coaching was around something that I could create for Kiran, who she could use not just for herself but also for Reena, repeat whenever she needs that, and also ensure that she is resilient enough to move ahead in life and take the other challenges that lies ahead. So friends, in a nutshell, this is how grief coaching works for someone who has their significant others or close associates suffering from a chronic illness and they need help. Because a chronic illness causes equal grief not just to the person who's suffering from it, but also to the caregivers. This is the Journey of Self, a program we have at Guide and Advice. I just gave you a glimpse of it. If you are interested, you can connect with me. Write to me, reach out to me on this website or the coordinates, and to gather more details of what exactly it entails and how it can best help you, feel free to write, to connect, or to call. Thank you.